Niki here at the Truck Boss Show. Today we are with our new friends, Big Matt and Cristina of Bonafide Trucking. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
Top of the top.
Top of the top.
I'll get back on your feet. On the Truck Boss Show, ain't no time to sleep.
Where did this name come from, Bonafide Trucking? Tell us a little bit about that.
Bonafide Trucking was started in my mind first. While I was incarcerated, I asked God exactly what he wanted me to do on my path to redemption and redeeming myself. And a couple of people came and told me about truck driving, and we decided upon a trucking company. And I asked him, well, since it's your company, what do you want me to name it? And he said, I want it to be named Bonafide Trucking. And it was basically, in the Latin, the word bona fide means good faith. It was basically focused on putting the shine and shimmer back on trucking that used to be. It was an all-American job in the 70s, 80s, 60s. Everybody wanted to be a trucker. And if you were a trucker, you were so respected. You know, your clothes were different. I'm not going to get into some of the stuff they say about us new school drivers, but it was just a different look, a different feel. And God said, I want you to bring that back. Honor, integrity, and service is our motto. I want you to bring that back to trucking. People are very disrespectful towards truckers, and we're disrespectful towards ourselves. I want to bring that back to trucking. So it's Bonafide Trucking.
Well, I love the name. It stands out. It's very captivating. So I like it. So what do you all haul?
Well, we haul mostly refrigerated goods. Every now and then we'll haul a dry van load, but mostly we try to keep refrigerated goods. The other thing about trucking is it is, as we can see, it's an everything proof profession. It's recession proof, it's pandemic proof. And one of the things that has continually kept moving during this time is food. And most food has to be refrigerated because when people ain't doing anything else, they're going to eat. So we want to be in the business that's going to pay us no matter what's going on. So we haul mostly refrigerated goods. Right now we're hauling produce. Produce season is ramping up. Everybody wants to keep that immune system going. So we're kind of doing all right there.
Matt, tell us a little bit about your story. Why trucking?
Trucking was honestly one of the most profitable professions that would give a second chance to a person like me. And when I say a person like me, first of all, I am an African-American male in this country. Second of all, I am an ex-felon. Third of all, one of the bad decisions that I made in my life was I joined a gang as a preteen. And that led me down a rabbit hole of bad decisions. So with those things, you know, that's like an amalgamation of like as bad as you can get. And trucking afforded me the opportunity to actually turn my life around. You talk to anybody in trucking, you tell them, yeah, man, I'm a gangbanger. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm a biker. And this one over here is like, yeah, I'm a bank robber. And this one's like, yo, man, listen, we all got a past. And I look at the highway, when I'm driving down the highway, I look at the highway as really my road to redemption because it is redeeming me in the eyes of a lot of people. You know, some people believed in me, like my wife, when we first met, she believed in me. And then I have others who I have scarred them so much through my past and through the things that I've done in my past that they did not believe me so much. But trucking has kept me on the straight and narrow while I was on parole. Trucking gave me the opportunity to not only get paid, but to travel while I did it. I was literally in my home state probably for, I don't know, out of 3 years, maybe I spent 6 months total in my home state, am I right? So it was just like trucking it opened many, many doors for me. And I always looked for a way to do the things that I wanted to do without getting too much assistance. And the money that you can make in trucking, if you do it right, affords me the opportunity to ultimately get to a place where I can contribute to the economic forecast in my community and in communities over.
Let's talk about some of your videos that you've done on social media. I've seen them and I get such a sense of positivity from them. And I know that other individuals do as well. What gave you the motivation to start doing videos on social media? And what do you have in the works for the future?
The social media thing. So for 3 years after I was released from prison, I was on parole and I was very anti-social media. I did not want to be on social media. I was like, no, the feds are looking. Everybody's going to be watching. I'm going to go back to jail because you can't control who comes on your page. And I was on gang parole. So it was like, nah, I'm not messing with it. And once the pandemic hit, there was a pivotal conversation, two times that I've had this conversation with Christ in my life. Once was when I said, you know what? I'm no longer dealing with the streets. I'm done gang banging. And it was because God asked me, he said, Matt, when you die, because I was on a collision course and I didn't care if I died. I didn't care how I died. And he asked me, he said, what do you want to be remembered as? Do you want to be remembered as a trucker who knew Jesus? Or do you want to be remembered as a disciple of Christ who drove trucks? And I'm like, man. And he's like, you promised me when you were released from prison, you were going to preach. I said, yeah, but nobody's let me in the pulpit. He said, well, newsflash, the whole world is gone virtual now. So you have no excuse. So I said, well, God, if you want me to do it, I'm going to open my mouth. And I started opening my mouth. And one day a guy named Trucker G, shout out to Trucker G, man. He reached out to me and he said something simple. I'm in a group called Road Warriors on Facebook. If you don't know of Road Warriors, we're a great group. Follow us on Facebook. And Trucker G said, I like what you're doing. Keep up the good work. That was all he said. And then a few videos later, he calls me and he's like, hey, man, I want to help you out. I want to show you how to navigate through social media. And he's been mentoring me, not just with the social media, but with the trucking as well, because he's got 28 years in it. And that means something to me, you know?
Oh,
So he's
absolutely.
been mentoring me, and people have just been giving me positive feedback, especially on the days, because contrary to popular belief, every day I am not positive.
Yeah.
Every day I don't feel positive. Every day I'm not feeling like getting up and doing a video, but I do my best to be who I am in the videos, who I am in real life on the video. So some days I'll get up there and I got the long face, but I will talk about how God is moving me through it. Some days I'm just, you know, I want to be real. I want to combat the automatic negative thoughts that so many of us can have with the truth of God being faithful even when we're not. So
Right.
we're on that, and actually my wife has shameless plug, Teens to Be Heard, is her nonprofit organization, and we're gonna spawn off of that as far as our community activist work. So that's what we're already working on, but what we're working on that we have in the works, we just shipped out our first shipment of It's Deeper Than Trucking hoodies. BT Apparel, you can catch it right there.
And those are pretty cool.
Thank you. Have the hats. And I just want to point something out pretty cool on the hats. Please don't mind my haircut. I'm a trucker. But on the side, you know how most baseball caps, they have, what do you call it? They have like a new era or some logo.
Yes.
So because we're truckers, we have a bobtail on the side of ours.
That's really cool.
And on the front of it is BT for Bonafide Trucking. And I just want to say anybody can be a bona fide trucker. If you are a trucker that shows up on time, if you're a trucker that takes pride in your work, if you are a trucker that does what needs to be done, even though you may or may not be getting paid for it, you are a trucker. If you're a driver that knows that you matter to this country, whether the country says thank you or not, if you know that you are the backbone of this country and you walk like it, talk like it, and drive like it, you are a bona fide trucker. We're coming up with a starter pack for those who want to start driving trucks, but everybody doesn't learn the same way. Some people can't learn in a traditional classroom, so they need, you know, some type of fun activities or something to make it interesting and captivate their attention. So we got the flashcards coming out, we got the worksheets coming out. That'll just aid you in getting past that first part, which is the test. It's the hardest part of being a driver, is actually getting the CDL, because some people have to take it 8 or 9 times. And even though this profession will change your life, they're like, no, man, I've tried too many times. I guess I'm just supposed to be a grocery store clerk. I guess I'm just supposed to be a McDonald's worker. We're working on a driver-owned and operated brokerage firm.
Nice.
Where we will be 100% transparent We won't be operating with any percentages. We'll simply take a fee regardless of what the driver makes, because I don't think people understand that truck driving in America is the most dangerous. Statistically speaking, it is the most dangerous job in America. And because of that, we deserve the lion's share of the profits and proceeds that come from trucking. Unfortunately, that's not being done right now. So we want to right that wrong. And I thank my brothers and sisters that were down in Washington, D.C., Chicago, Texas, that were protesting. And just in support of them, we're going to present an actionable item, which is starting the trucker owned and operated brokerage.
The COVID-19 has not stopped trucking. It's still going. What message do you have for them?
I would tell my fellow drivers to do your best, because we are the best. And I know some people, would have a problem with that saying, but there's greatness in each and every one of us. However, not everyone walks in that greatness. Some people leave that greatness untapped and they take it to the grave with them. As truck drivers, we're called upon to be our best every single day that we drive. So many people get caught up in whether they've noticed us or not. And I sincerely believe that the American public, because every time they talk about frontline responders and everything, they go straight to doctors. Some of us may look at the fact that we're not getting the recognition that we deserve. And I do believe that we deserve. I have a saying that trucking is right up under the military as far as our country is concerned. The military protects our freedoms, truckers deliver and provide our freedoms. It doesn't get any more clear cut than that. Anybody can have issue with me over it, but we are number 2 in this country. And because of that, some of us can get perturbed by the fact that we are not as acknowledged. But I think that in this pandemic, everyone else has had an extra stress put on them. Doctors are dealing with more sick patients than they have had to. Ambulance drivers are driving more than they've had to. But truck drivers, we have continued to do the great things that we've already been doing, delivering goods. It hasn't changed for us. Right. You know what I mean? Now, actually, some volume has shrunk and it's beginning to rise back up, but we haven't had to do anything outside of our norm. We are heroes every day, and I just would like to encourage us to not take so much of an issue with acknowledgement or recognition, but let's just be great because we are great. We know we're providing a great service, and let's just keep it at that, man. That's my take on it.
If somebody was interested in joining the trucking community and they just haven't pulled the trigger yet, what would you say to them?
Don't be scared. Don't be scared. I don't believe that there is a day that goes by that I am not terrified to be on my truck. And that's one of the meanings behind It's Deeper Than Trucking. For me, trucking is I deal with a lot of symbolism in my life. And trucking to me is a symbol of how I can overcome some of my greatest fears to become a greater me. And I would like to encourage anyone who thinks they want to become a trucker or anything in life for that matter, but a trucker specifically, don't be scared. It's okay to be fearful, but do not let your fear rule your actions. Overcome it. I never thought as a child, coming from North Carolina, trucking accidents are always worse than they seem because we're carrying maybe TVs, cantaloupes, oranges, or whatever. So when we crash and that trailer gets all messed up, it makes the highway look way more messy than it actually is. Actually, the truck driver might have came out without a scratch, but you drive by, you're like, oh my God, everybody's dead, right? So that traumatized me as a kid. And in seeing that, I said, I will never be able to drive a truck. As when I started driving, I never drove next to a truck. I either sped up to get in front of it or I slowed down so they could get in front of me. Because of that accident, I was petrified, traumatized to the core. And when I started to step outside of the boxes that people had put me in or that I had built for myself, when God said trucking, I was like, what? Are you sure? And once I got in the truck, my fear lessened. And I realized, and now it's 3 years, accident free. Now I've had a few fender benders, but they're not on my CSA report. You can't prove it. If you weren't there, you don't know. right? But I'm saying I've not had any turnovers, no big accidents. It's been all good, man. You know, so every day I get in my truck, I overcome my fear. There's never a day that I get in there that I'm so confident. I'm like, yo, I'm never gonna crash. Every day I get in there and the thought runs through my mind, today could be the day you crash, man. Today could be the day that you flip your truck over, man. And that causes me to drive more carefully. But as far as pulling the trigger, pull it, pull it. My wife was out shooting the other day, and it was the funniest thing. She'd never shot a gun in her life. And she pulled the trigger, and she's like, ah! I'm like, hey, listen. Yes, she did. Listen, the gun is an inanimate object. It only moves when you pull the trigger. Your trucking career only moves when you pull the trigger. You got to put it in gear. It ain't going to move without you. And guess what? That truck only goes as fast as you allow it. And it only goes as slow as you make it. You're in control of your destiny. You're in control of your future. You're in control of your career. Pull the trigger. It's okay. We're waiting for you.
Well said. Well, Matt and Christina, where can people find you on social media if they want to go watch your videos or just keep up with what you got going on?
But you can find me at It's Deeper Than Trucking. You can also find me on my personal profile at Bonafide Trucking. My wife, you can find her at Teens to Be Heard. That's Teens, the letter 2, B, the number 2, the letter B, and the word heard. Teens to Be Heard.
That is it for this segment on the Truck Bus Show. We'll see you on the next one.